So tonight is more sharing than saying I'm going to teach. But on the subject, which is advertising compassion and wisdom in our everyday lives. So that is the subject. I will talk on this subject, the more day-to-day, using more day-to-day language, and how can we bring these two basic human qualities into our everyday lives more obvious, more active. So I will talk on that subject, but then what I would like to do is really I would like to listen from your own side, from your own experiences, from your own understandings, and from your own need, which is very, very useful. So it is very much sharing, these two basic human qualities. How can we, bring these two in more active role in our everyday lives? So that will be the subject. Okay. Now, first, let me say just a few words, which is very crucial. Whether we are doing the spiritual activities or doing a daily routine job. Our states of mind, the mind that make us to do, mind that leads us to engage in that activity. It can be very important, it can be very routine, but that mind which makes us to do is very, very crucial. Crucial in the sense of make that mind at least in a neutral state. If it is possible to have a positive, a constructive, if it is impossible, but to have a neutral state of mind, then engage into that activity will be very, very useful. And as many of you may know this, in the Buddhist traditions, at the beginning of the activity, like spiritual activity or routine activity, always strongly encourage people saying, make sure your motivation is right, correct, positive. And I think that is very, very important. So therefore, I will encourage you, I will suggest you, that before we start our sharing, on this topic, try to make sure that your states of mind, your intention to come and to join this evening, the event, is at least in a neutral state. If it is possible, a positive state of mind. So for that, first I will say briefly, what does I mean? What do I mean? A positive, a constructive state of mind. I'll say on that briefly. Then we will do a short silent meditation, and during that silent meditation, first part of the meditation, we will make sure at least our states of mind is in a neutral state, and if it is possible, a positive. And with that, then the later part of the silent meditation, then to have not just the mind is positive or neutral, but it is also right here and now, at this place, with this body, and be fully alert, be fully aware to the present moment. So for that purpose, we will do a short silent meditation. After I explain briefly what do I mean a positive, a constructive mind is helpful. After the silent meditation, then first I will talk on the subject, then I want to listen from your suggestions, your questions, your answers, like that. We will do that sort of activity. Now when I say it is very, very helpful to have a positive, a constructive motivation or the intention to join the event, I'm not saying a specific positive mind. I'm not saying the constructive mind. I'm talking about according to our mental level, according to our mental strength, to bring a positive, a constructive mind. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And that is very, very important, because what we need here is a positive mind, even if it is a very, very basic, very, very simple, but that mind, that positive mind, must come from our heart. From our heart, not mimicking. Understand what I mean, mimicking, yeah? Not mimicking, not copying from what other people say, this is positive mind, and not pretending, think, I have this positive mind, but in reality don't have it. Not in those things, but according to our mental level, according to our mental capability, to bring a positive, genuinely, sincerely, according to your level. That's important. That is very, very important. I truly believe that we all are, we are all able to bring or to experience a positive, a constructive mind. We're all, and that's important. Now, my usual suggestion is this. My usual suggestion, which is quite general, but the usual suggestion is this. When I say a positive, a constructive mind, it can be like this, very, clearly, very strongly, from your heart, have this feeling, the feeling of that this evening I'm here, at this place where there are so many spiritual activities are taking place. I'm in that place with a group of people. In a group of people, basically same in the sense of wanting to be a happy person and not want any kind of difficulties. And basically, we are same, and I'm with them. And also in a certain level, I'm with them to learn something. To learn something from this, from this group, from this discussion. Learn something which will help me, which will, support me, which will, encourage me to enhance, to promote, to, cultivate further some of the basic human good qualities. Some of the basic human good qualities, such as, be able to able to show affection to myself and to others, immediate beings that whom you share your lives. Can be your partner, can be your children, can be your wife, can be your husband, can be your colleagues, or it can be your pets, cats and dogs. Or sometimes Westerners have a very, dramatic pets, such as lizard, big snake, or whatever. So, it can be that those beings whom you share your lives, immediately those. Then, if it is possible, maybe a little bit further. So that I'm here to learn that, to learn from the others. And also my own experience to share to others. So for that purpose, I'm here. It is very simple, it is very basic, yet very, very profound. Because profound in the sense of that kind of attitude can be cultivated, can be experienced genuinely, sincerely from our heart. What we need is we need a little bit encouragement, we need a little bit that kind of raised awareness that is useful. Otherwise, basically we have that. So that sort of, when I say a positive, a constructive states of mind, I'm talking about that sort of things. But some of you may have a very specific reason to come here. If you have that, that's fine. Make that specific reason something, the positive. Not just me, I, something we, together. Together not necessarily just here, back in home, back in family, back in where you work. I'm here for that. Although I have this specific reason to come here, to listen, to talk, but it is not just for me. It is not just for me. It is for the people, beings who share my lives. So that sort of things. You may have specific reason, but that specific reason try to share to the others. And for that purpose, I'm here. Yeah? So that sort of intention will be very, very helpful. But some of you may have, I know some of you have been, in this spiritual path, Buddhism, for a long time. Then have, trying hard to cultivate, such as, the mind called, taking refuge, going for refuge, or, the altruistic awakened mind. If that is your very spontaneous, very, natural, the positive mind that you normally experience at the beginning of the event, if that's your case, perfect. Fine, do that. I'm not saying bring those things. But what I'm suggesting here is according to our mental level. According to our mental strength, bring a positive, constructive mind as a starting. Like a starter, when we go to restaurant, in the West you have a culture to go to restaurant. Initially I didn't understand that culture. Why they are going to restaurant? They have a very good kitchen in their room, their home, and there's so many good things in their fridge. But still they want to go to restaurant once a week. Why they want that? But you have a culture, and when you go to restaurant, in the menu there's a starter, there's a main course, there's a the finishing one. In English they call dessert or whatever. Something sweet to eat or coffee to drink. And that is, I find is a very good example. I'm not saying the Buddhist is the best, but I'm saying in Buddhism they have this culture saying start with the right states of mind, then engage in that activity, then end with the positive mind, such as what we call the dedication. And it is exactly the same as your restaurant menu. Nice starter, little bit cheaper than the main course, than the actual main course. Then at the end there's some delicious coffee or cake to finish. And like that, it is very, very helpful to engage in these activities. It not necessarily this sort of the structure is not necessarily only when we do the spiritual things. No, even when we do the daily routine things with mindfulness. With the mindfulness, if we have that sort of package, that action will be complete, full, nice action. So that's useful. I'm going too much blah blah. That's what I usually do. Okay, now what we'll do a short silent meditation. And during that silent meditation, first 2-3 minutes, try all your best to bring a positive, strong, clear, positive states of mind. Then after that, just while you are experiencing that positive, states of mind, then gradually rest your mind on that positive feelings, but not very much thinking at all. Just being, fully, your mind is fully present, or fully aware, or fully experience that positive mind, but not very much thinking at all, not rationally, because of this, because of that, not those things, but simply your mind is present right here and now with that positive states of mind or that motivation, but not rationalizing, not thinking, but fully present with that. And through that, raised awareness. So we'll do about just 15 minutes silent meditation. Okay. Slowly end the meditation. So now I will talk on subject about 40 to 45 minutes. And so by then it will be 8:30. Then half an hour we have a good discussion. And yeah. I want to start the talk on this subject, compassion and wisdom in our everyday lives. I want to start the talk to say this, which I always give, the suggestion to the people. If you want to start any kind of project, ordinary project or spiritual project. Spiritual project in the sense of you want to have your own spiritual path. And I always suggest to the people saying, if you want to do that, first make your ordinary life. Make your ordinary life stable. Make your ordinary life stable. If your ordinary life is not stable, then whatever project you take on, you will struggle. You will struggle to do that project properly, and to see the result. That is very, very, important. Very often, people, take a big project or come to a spiritual path, such as Buddhism. They want to escape from their ordinary life, and that's wrong. That is wrong. Wanting to escape from the ordinary life, then to join a spiritual path, it will not work. It will not work. So therefore, it is the foundation, it is the base that we have to have stable, grounded. Without the base, without the foundation, we can't build the house. What form of house you want to build. It's like a sort of 10, 12, 1,300 story floors, or just single floor. It is really important to have the foundation. And the foundation is the ordinary life. That's the foundation. Now, when I say that to have our ordinary life stable, I'm not saying stable in the sense of have lots of money. I'm not saying that. Of course, it will be nice to have lots of money, but I'm not saying from that point of view. Also, I'm not saying become very famous. Also, I'm not saying become very powerful, dominating. Therefore, your life will be stable. Not all those things. Psychologically, stable. I'm talking about that. Of course, if our financial is not in a good shape, that causes us problem. If our relationship is not going well, that causes us problem. That causes instability. But most of the important thing is if our mental state is not, calm, relaxed, have this kind of sense of connection to our topic, able to express affection initially to oneself. And that is here the topic which compassion is talking about. Compassion is two big words at the moment. Here we need to talk the basic things, basic human, the qualities. That is affection. We ourselves need affection. Also, we must, learn or have be able to, express affection to others. And that is very, very basic, the human qualities, and that is the ground, where we can build the stability. If we are lacking, to show affection to ourselves and be able to express affection to others. If we are lacking that, then it will be very, very difficult to have psychologically, to have a stable life. So that is really something we need to look at. And this one, when I say affection, when I say affection, I'm not talking about something which we don't have and have it. No. We all have. At least in a form of potential. At least. But most of us, not in a form of potential, it is there. But what happens is we don't pay attention to that quality. We think there are other more important things to be done in my life. And those basic human qualities we tend to ignore. We tend to, ignore they are not there, but in reality they are there within us. And when we talk about in the religious field, in the spiritual field, when we talk about have compassion, have wisdom, at least when I say this, I'm talking about from a Buddhist point of view, which I know a little bit. We are not saying something which we don't have at all, then bring from the meditation or from the studying the text and bring into within ourselves, make it happen. Not that. When we say in the spiritual context, when we say have compassion, cultivate compassion, meditate on compassion, what we're talking about is mainly basic, the material to have those is within us. So what I'm saying is bring that up. Bring that up. And that is really, really important to know that. Now, I'm jumping a little bit here and there, but I must calm down myself. Now, affection. When I say affection, I'm not saying, become very, or in English they have this word saying very cuddly. Cuddly? Cuddly means when you cuddle, you hold somebody. So in English they have this word saying very, oh, this is very cute, oh, it looks very cuddly. A certain, it's like a dolls or certain, the small baby, when they see it, they use this term. Oh, it's very cuddly baby, very cute. So here, when we talk about, have the affection, be able to feel affection to oneself, and also be able to express affection to others. I'm not talking about saying, to become very cuddly. That is not the point. In other words, when you say, initially when I say, be able to express or be able to feel affection towards yourself, the initial state is be able to experience your own feelings. Your own feelings. That can be pleasant feelings, that can be unpleasant feelings, that can be difficult feelings, that can be joyful feelings, but simply be able to experience your own feelings. What's going on in here? If we ignore that, if we ignore our own feelings, then it is very, very difficult to understand other people's feelings. What's going on in their feelings. Very, very difficult. And that is in certain cases, that is the sequence. So that before, when we say be affection, be able to feel affection towards oneself, the first step is be able to feel one's own feelings. Can be sadness, can be joyful, can be very, very exciting, but whatever, it's important to be able to feel that. Many of us, we ignore our own feelings. We always try to get the feelings from others. What's going on? Like what's called the octopus, those has so many, what's called what they call it?
Tentacles.
Yeah. Like that. We want to know what's happening in others' feelings, but we haven't looked at our own feelings. Because when we haven't looked at our own feelings, what is going on, what is experienced, what sort of feelings going on in here, those what we get it from others are very, very superficial. Very, very often we got it wrong. Because we haven't learned our own feelings. And that's very important. When we start to look at our own feelings, our own experiences, now here this is very important for the Westerners. Westerners. I'm not saying that difficulty is not there for the Easterners, we also have, but for the Westerners, this is more problem. When we start to look at our own feelings, our own, the experiences, then the Westerners tend to become very, very critical. Critical, you understand? Very, very critical. And sometimes not just critical, extremely, what's called the negative towards oneself. Extremely, when I use this term extremely, in the sense of exaggerated, negative towards oneself. exaggerated. And that is not helpful to have stable, emotionally, mentally, to have a stable life. When we are, very, very critical to ourselves, and quite often, self-criticism all the time. You are not right, you are not doing well, you are bad, you don't have this, you don't have that, others have, others are doing well, and constantly, every part of, including the spiritual path that we have chosen, saying, others are doing, got more mantra, you haven't got it. So like that. And that is not good. Not good at all. What happening there is bit by bit, not immediately, day by day, month by month, year by year. What's happening there is you are sort of more and more ignoring those good qualities that you have. Not saying I don't have anything, but day by day you are saying you are not good, you are not doing well, you are blah blah blah, you don't have blonde hair, you don't have all those things. Then that causes big problem. That really causes this instability. Psychologically, that's it. What you're doing is causing to experience instability. And that is really not helpful. So, what is helpful in here is to learn your own feelings, the experiences, psychologically, what's going on in my lives. Then, from there, first thing you need to do is, you have to learn. You have to learn, or you have to, learn to be gentle to yourself. To be gentle. When things are going wrong, acknowledge, yes, this has gone wrong. Relationship goes wrong. Financials goes wrong. My study goes wrong. My health goes wrong. Yeah, those are the reality that happens. That is in this package, what we call my life. Isn't it? That's in our package. So-called my life is not something selective. If it is selected, then it is good. We can select all the good things and deselect all the what we don't want. But it is not like that. Life does not come like that. It comes with this package. And within that package, in English they have this particular term. I like that very much. The Tandoori box. Everything will come on. What do we have to do? We have to learn how to make that less difficult, less problematic, and that is here. What I mean. That is what we need to do. So really, the first step is to learn your own feelings, your own thoughts, your own experiences. By learning them, not be too critical, not be too judgmental, and not be extreme self-criticism. That's the first step. That way, what you have to do, you have to say, okay, I made a mistake. Although it might be a big mistake, I lost my sort of, the long-term boyfriends or girlfriends, which I thought I'm going to marry him or her, have kids, but I lost now. I made a mistake. But that's not the end of the world. Financially, maybe some other cases, you may have lost huge money. But again, that's not the end of the day. So you have to be very gentle to yourself, saying, okay, I made a mistake. I have learned lessons. Now I have to start positively again. And that's what here I'm talking about. Be able to, feel affection towards yourself. That means gentleness. The gentleness does not mean in here, don't look at details, don't look at, gentleness doesn't mean accept everything. No. There are things sometimes you have to disagree with your friends, with your colleagues, or sometimes to yourself, to your own feelings, to your own desire. You have a strong desire, which time to time I have, to do something which some of you know, some of you don't know. I really have a strong this bad habit I learned since I come to West, wanting to watch television. And sometimes I don't understand why I'm watching it. News after news, one channel news finish, another channel news, but same news, but no different. Only different is presenter or the channel is different, but the same news. But I want to watch one after another. Or I want to watch documentary, like that. So, and that desire conflicts with my, the understanding. In other words, in the spiritual words, the term is used, wisdom. That my thinking mind says, Tashi, this is not good for you. This takes your time. This is not good for your health. This is not good for your eyes. And my thinking mind, my wisdom, if I use that term, tells me, don't do that. But my desire says, just 15 minutes. So that sometimes you have to disagree your desire, your feelings. But the gentleness means that sort of be able to not be what's called exaggerated self-criticism. That is important, really, really important. When we are able to, be gentle to ourselves, then we are able to be gentle to others. And that is, the affection or the gentleness is one of the main, one of the main causes for our, successful gentleness, affection. For example, if you have a newborn baby. The newborn baby needs mother or somebody's affection. Mentally, that kind of physically touching. And it is the same for us, adults, although we may not need that kind of, very close, somebody's affection, but we need. This is how the nature of our body and nature of our mind. Our body needs, affection to have a healthy body, gentleness. And same, our mind needs affection. Our emotion be very stable emotion. What we need is we need gentleness, we need affection. And if we understand that I need that, then we can understand they also need the same. My partner, my friends, my parents, my colleagues, they also need this affection. And very, very important. Very, very important. When we talk about the compassion in our everyday lives, of course we can talk compassion we need in our everyday lives in the context of more spiritual sense. But initially we need to learn this, the compassion, or I call affection. This, the being a sense of closeness, being a sense of gentleness to oneself first. Then that can roll out to the others. There's no doubt if we do that, then our life, psychologically, our life will be very stable. Very stable. Even if financially completely bankrupt. But yes, outside maybe what's called in UK they call people who come and collect your possessions and everything. In English they're called bailiff. The people who knock your door and take everything. Even if that happens, of course there will be difficulties, there will be sadness, but deep down in your mind, psychologically, deep down, there's a decrease of calm, decrease of peace, a decrease of sense of stability. If we have this affection towards ourselves, gentleness towards ourselves. And that is very, very crucial. Now this other side, other topic that we should be talking about is what the technically called wisdom, but I usually call understanding. And that is, again, it's important. That many of us, as I said earlier, many of us, we tend to act, we tend to plan, we tend to engage in activities very much, driven by our emotions. Not very much by our thinking. Although we think a little bit, but quite often our thinking becomes more chattery. Not usually, that's not really thinking what I'm talking about. When I say thinking, or in other words, wisdom means, the judging long-term, short-term. Positive, negative, immediate, for many years. Going through these kind of, the back and forward analysis. Not jumping so many different things, not doing that, but very very calmly, looking at these pros and cons, making judgment, long term, short term. We don't do that much. In other words, we don't use our thinking mind that much in our everyday lives. Our everyday life is very much driven by either emotion or our previous habits. Habitually, we make decisions. Or just copying from others. Which we do quite a lot. Somebody had this nice pair of shoes. I must have that. That is quite nice. Or whatever. And that's why, we are extremely clever, very, very clever to copy from others. That's why these big companies, they're giving huge money to those, the famous people to wear their product. Otherwise, why they would give this huge money? Because they know our mindsets. We live life copying from others. And that is not helpful. What we need is we need to try to use more our thinking mind. In this case, as I said earlier, I'll give you my own example. When we start to use our thinking mind, sometimes that thinking, because of the thinking, that thinking mind, sometimes we may need to say something which we really want to do, we may need to say no. Or something which you really don't want to do, we may need to say yes. Because the thinking mind gives us, the information. Little bit, opposite, oppose from our desire, from our yearning, from our longing. And sometimes it is good to, to say, okay, although I desire this, I have this strong desire to have this, to do this, but when I think, long term, short term, pros, cons, that doesn't go with that. Therefore, at least I will postpone to have that, to do that. And in here what we need is we need strength. Strength. In the West, you have so many different, therapies. So many different therapies. And most of the therapies, whatever, in which level you are seeking therapies, most of the therapies will say, this is your weak point. Which, for what reason you are seeking therapy, but they always have pointed out, this is your weak point, so you have to learn from that. And that is really true. That is true. Why we don't use our thinking mind that much, one reason is quite often the thinking mind starts to think that oppose our desire. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to give up our desire. We want to follow that. And that is a weak point. So therefore, sometimes, be able to stand up, with your desire. When your thinking mind gives you the right the answer, you should be able to stand up. If we do that, we'll have a stable life. psychologically we'll have a stable mind. When we have a stable mind, then, whatever we do, spiritual things, ordinary things, these will, of course, it depends on what kind of project you are taking on, but they will follow, they will, relatively successful. So that if, compassion or wisdom term, whatever term we use, we are talking about mainly basic human qualities. Basic human qualities. Qualities of, the affection, be able to feel affection, and qualities of be able to think. These are human qualities. Of course, other species may have, but not so far, we understand, not as rich as human beings have. And these basic qualities we must use in our everyday lives. And it is good sometimes, from time to time, to raise the awareness. And as I said earlier, quite often we ignore these basic qualities. We ignore. Or some other reason is we are too busy. Or we try to keep ourselves too busy. Put it that way. Unlike Western culture, somehow. Now, although I was born in Tibet and brought up in Eastern monasteries, but I like many of the Western cultures. One of your culture is keeping yourself very busy. I think it is a good culture, but it is in which area you are keeping yourself very busy. That is the question we need to look at. Overall, keeping yourself very busy is good, but if in which area you are keeping yourself very busy, and that is the question. So the psychologically, particularly in the area that I know a little bit, and how to keep physical body, how to keep well. I think you know more than me. I don't have much knowledge of those things, although I try to copy from the West, do jogging and so on and so forth. But I think you know more than me. But in the psychological sense, because I have studied these texts and have received teachings and so on and so forth, so my experience, my understanding. Yes, what we need to do, we need to raise awareness to ourselves, saying, I have these basic human qualities. If we don't raise this awareness to ourselves in this very busy life, and also, recently I said in London, in China, I said, today's world is 24 hours media world. Whatever is happening, in somewhere in a different continent, within a minute we can get that information in our iPod or whatever. Ding ding, look at it. But mainly, what they will inform us, all the disasters. They will not inform us what good things are happening. They always inform us, somebody killed, the murder, those. So that constantly, put in our mind. There is a possibility, because that kind of constant information, bombarding information may cause us to feel pessimistic. there's this risk. On top of that, then our own difficulties, as I said earlier. In that package, we have the difficulties. So when these two things come together, we may see our life very, very pessimistic, hopeless, very, very black, not black, but very grey area life means. And in many people, if you talk to people who have, if you read the stories, the people who sadly commit suicide, they have this kind of thought, something hopeless. There's nothing they can do. Although we may not have that, but combining these two together, 24 hours, unpleasant news, constantly, then combine that with our own real life difficulties. For me now is constantly worry about. I have forgotten my reading glasses because now my eyesight is getting worse and worse year by year, and when I go to sort of the reading classes, I need reading glasses. Did I really put my reading glasses? Check again, and it's put it. Then 2-3 hours later, did I put my reading glasses again? So that's so when these two come together, a real life's difficulty and constantly bringing the information, bad information, these two together will make it very, very, life is very, very difficult, pessimistic. So in that kind of environment, our job is individually and collectively, like this kind of coming together, to raise the awareness that we have many, many good basic qualities. Although there are difficulties, but there are good things within us, around us. People are not, not all the time, or the bad. Although they cause pain, they cause difficulty, not all the time. That sort of things are very important. In that way, we are able to, feel affection to ourselves, compassion to ourselves. Through that, we are able to feel affection to others. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, now I want to hear from you, from your own experiences, thoughts, or questions, whatever you want. We have half an hour, so I share my experiences. Now I want to hear from you. Don't be shy. Don't be just say whatever you feel might be helpful to others or to helpful to yourself. Okay, who's going to be the bravest person first?
Maybe one point we didn't touch yet is the importance of confidence.
Confidence.
And so I think in general we have the fear that we are in a continuous conflict with the environment, that we have to protect ourselves against other aspects. And that we are taught actually the whole life that we have to protect ourselves. And I think that's an obstacle to be open and to be generous. And then another aspect may be the lack of honesty. So as long as we have that continuous lying in the social system,
that's true.
It causes a lot of mistrust, and suddenly everybody is shutting the door. So it's hard actually, even if you have your own balance. As soon as you go out to the street, you have many problems actually just jumping on you.
Yes, it is true. It is true. Now, first I will suggest, and some other people would like to give suggestion on this. Here, in a very general first, the very general point that I want to make is this. What we can do and what we can't do. That's something which we have to look at this in your issue, in some of the points you raise. What we can do is, make ourselves an honest person, make ourselves a gentle person, make ourselves be a confident person. That's what we can do. What we can't do is we can't make every living being very gentle, very honest, very sincere, very loving. That we can't do. We can contribute others to be gentle, honest, sincere, have confidence. We can contribute, but we can't make them. Now that's the one thing which quite helpful to, I think that's my suggestion. And in this case, why I'm saying this is this. One of these great Indian masters, some of you know, because he is quoted many times by, like his own Dali Lamas and other teachers, and some of his texts are very famous, and particularly this text called, the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life by Shantideva. In there, he gave a nice analogies to how to deal with our minds, and his analogy is this. In order to protect your feet, if you try to cover the entire world with a leather, what's going to happen? You will fail. But if you put a nice, strong pair of shoes, that will do the same job, like covering the entire world to protect your feet. And why he used this analogy is, his analogy is used saying, to work with your hatred, anger. If you work with your hatred and anger, that will do the job. When other people cause you, make you to get angry and so on and so forth, you will, psychologically, in deep down, you will, feel peace, relax. Although if they touch you, if they take your stuff, that may cause some difficulties, but in a deep down, mentally deep down, there will be peace and relax. And that is here the analogy is given. So, in certain extents, you are right. There are, the people around us, within the society, within the community, who have difficult characters, and we can contribute them, give some contribution, them to change their difficulties, but we can't make them change fully. That makes sense, what I'm saying. Am I answering your question?
Right, yeah.
It's all right.
It's all right.
You can say a little bit later.
Yeah.
But if anybody would like to say something?
How can I cultivate the thinking mind? The point of the bad habits.
Okay. Now this one, when I said thinking mind, or the other term that generally used, wisdom, again, it is very much starting with the simple exercises, day-to-day, the day-to-day sort of events, activities, projects. You need to use your thinking mind. That means, making some sort of, the judgment. What is right? What is wrong? What is the immediate benefits? What's short, long-term benefits? So something, the basic daily activities that you need to engage in, applying in those activities, not taking those activities part of your habits, but bringing your awareness in there. Have a little bit, that looking into there, not just immediately embracing it, not just immediately, throwing it or taking in. Have a little bit, the thinking mind there to make judgment. And this way, then that same mind, then you can make, you can utilize some important long-term big projects. For example, I usually say this, particularly for the Westerners coming into Buddhism. You should think why you want to have a spiritual path which is very alien for you. Culturally very alien, emotionally very alien, all what you can see as very alien. Why you want to impress with it? What's wrong with you? Why you want that? I said, think. So then there you are looking at quite, the deeper project, long-term project. Then you may need to think more detail. It may take months to, looking at pros and cons and short term, long term, yourself and for others. When you look at all these things, your thinking mind will take you give you some sort of conclusion. This is one embracing Buddhism. Although it's difficult to understand the concept, difficult to understand, to do the meditation, which I don't used to sit like that, but I'm embracing this. But this is the conclusion. Then it is very, very useful to you. You know at least where you are going. So you have to train yourself, this thinking mind, to operate initially the basic, the daily activities. It is same for us, the science or science is what's called the people who are working in that field, like they use those mainly the mouse or some other animals. They see how intelligent they are, and they feed, and they let them pass certain difficult rules and see how their memories are working. It is like that. In our thinking mind, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, more and more the thinking mind, through the utilizing the thinking mind, when you start to get the fruit, get the result, even if there's ordinary things, when we start to get the result, then we will utilize that more and more. As I said earlier, normally we don't use this thinking mind that much. In the UK, I say jokingly, we use our thinking mind in only 2 or 3 occasions in our lifetime. One is, am I going to have this mortgage or not? That when you buy the house or land, you have to borrow from big company, big sort of banks, and in English they're called mortgage. That money you borrow, and you think a lot. Or some people say, am I going to buy this life insurance or not? Then we may think a lot. Apart from those few things, we don't use this thinking mind. So very, very underused. Therefore, we don't have much result. So my suggestion is start from the basic things. Okay?
Geshe-la, you told us to develop the affection for myself first as the basis for further action, like being a little bit more compassionate to others.
Others, yes.
Is it a good training to get the right motivation for compassion to start with the training on affection for myself? Because sometimes I am compassionate to others, but when I do not get the right feedback, then I feel a little bit frustrated. And then in the end I see, it was not the right compassionate motivation, it was a little bit selfish motivation.
That's true.
And so maybe it is a good advice, when I heard it right, from you to start with the training on affection first.
I think that is entire, the Mahayana Buddhists. Although the Mahayana Buddhists, the main, the subject is to cultivate altruism. Is a Mahayana Buddhist. Main topic is different from the Theravadan, is saying to cultivate altruism. That means looking after other beings' welfare. But if you look at the whole structure of the mind, this how to cultivate altruism, entire this structure is based on first how to cultivate this, to understand one's own difficulties, and how to have this strong desire or strong this yearning, wanting to be free from oneself, wanting to be free from that difficulties. Technically it is called renunciation. Without renunciation, there's no altruism. Renunciation means one, the mind which have this determination, this yearning, oneself want to be free from difficulties. So in other words, if you don't have that sort of, the feeling and urge, you will not have feeling of the urgentness, wanting to help others to be free from suffering. So therefore, here the point what I'm making here is that if you don't understand one's own feelings, one's own, the experiences and thoughts, it is impossible you will understand other people's feelings. And it is quite well presented even in the Western psychologists, the people. They say, if the people who have a difficulty to understand their own, the the feelings, those people are more risk to cause pain to others. That's what they said, and it is same. It is the same understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a question? Yeah. Or any suggestion. Any suggestion. Don't feel embarrassed. Just talk what you want to talk.
What's the difference between the thinking mind and the ego?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, these both are very, very general when you say thinking mind or ego. Thinking mind itself can be ego in general. I'm not saying all the thinking minds. In general, thinking mind itself can be ego. For example, when you say, I am such and such important person, that can be ego, that can be thinking mind. But thinking mind, here what I use this term thinking mind, is not just that sort of feeling, that kind of thinking. I'm talking about a little bit more specific thinking mind. When I say thinking mind in here, parallel to wisdom. I don't use the term wisdom because it is more there, so I use instead of that thinking mind. So here when I use thinking mind, I'm more or less talking about that the mind which is which is able to calculate from right to wrong, the correct to incorrect, long-term benefit to short-term benefit. But in the ego, usually don't have that. It has this, if I use these analogies, when you have a strong ego mind, what is there is there's this very, very, what in English the term is used, popped up. In that popped up mind, there's no thinking. It is just solid. It is. That is it. So the ego usually don't have this kind of the thinking mind, what I'm using, that be able to calculate, be able to make judgment.
I have one question. In the Western area, thinking mind is well established, but usually they have the wrong targets.
Oh, you are right. Exactly.
So the right target might be as important here to create value or to destroy value.
That is true. That is true. And that it is very clearly indicated, as you said. Westerners have very, very thinking mind, but what you call the where they use is maybe not at the right area. It is very clearly demonstrated. Not all, the majority of Westerners like very much. People who come to the Buddhism or come to the meditation, they like very much just think nothing, to observe their breathing, or just they like that very much. That is the indication. That's the clear indication you are fed up with the thinking mind. But here again, I want to come back again here. Earlier I said we use our thinking mind very little. That I'm talking about more or less in a way to use. For what purpose we use, I'm talking about that thinking mind. Yes, particularly some of the Westerners are extremely, think day and night how to make money. I know one person. He's a self-investor, and because now the whole when now we are all the financial department this area is shut down, but in Japan or Australia it's starting to come out. So he's constantly looking at his computer, checking what's going on. So it is true, but still when I use this thinking mind, as I said a few minutes ago, I'm not again talking about not that much in that line of thinking mind. I'm more thinking mind when I use this word thinking mind parallel to wisdom. That means something important, helpful in subjects. You're right. That's really true. Yeah. Any other suggestions?
From the psychological point of view, they claim it is most important to balance the physical part with the soul and the spirit.
On spirit, okay.
And I wonder, in Buddhism, soul is not very popular.
You can say that. You can say that. But I may refute. Careful. Okay, yeah. Yes. So, what is your question?
Yeah, so from some spiritual point of view, the soul is so important as a stable point where you can actually withdraw and you can you have something you can rely on, not changing.
Okay.
So it might help actually to accept that you live in a continuous change and you shouldn't fight to change. And you still have something
to hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good point. Now, my answer is this. Buddhism definitely rejects. I'm talking about from the philosophical point of view. I'm not saying as a general Christianity, what you call the Islam, the Abrahamic religion, which believe there's some kind of soul or some kind of essence of God or that. I'm not talking about as a religion, as a spiritual part. Buddhism doesn't reject. But from the philosophical point of view, you're right. The Buddhist does not believe there's some kind of eternal, the unchanging entity, nature within us.